Welcome to the Career Success Secret Show. I am your host, Mike Tomasello. The Career Success Secret Show is where we break down the strategies that top performers use to excel in their corporate careers. Today, we're going to be diving into a topic that can revolutionize your career. We're talking absolute transformation, and that is professional mentorship. That's right. Professional mentorship can change the trajectory of your career if you know how to get started, if you know how to find the right mentors. But before we get started, I wanted to welcome our listeners from Australia, in addition to the 15 other countries that have been listening to the show. Welcome, Australia. Welcome back, listeners from all around the world. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things around career mentorship today, possibly in some ways that you've never considered before, possibly because you are secretly going about mentorship the wrong way or thinking around mentorship the wrong way. You're going to want to take notes for this one, and we are going to explore why some of the thinking around finding a mentor might actually be wrong. Not only that, but this thinking might actually be holding you back. And so we're going to cover what to do instead. Before we dive in, I wanted to share with you that my career started out in an absolute mess. So regardless of where you're at in your career, I want you to know that mentorship can work for you. Neither one of my parents had graduated from college, and I didn't have any rich neighbors. I didn't have any rich friends who had successful corporate careers or had parents that had successful corporate careers. I barely graduated from college. I had a couple D's and F's on my transcript. And by the way, if you didn't graduate from college, these tips and strategies can still work for you. Many of my clients use them all the time. Now, I like to blame my D's and F's on an undiagnosed sleeping disorder, which, as you can imagine, gave me something else that made being successful in the corporate world all that much more challenging. I had all the excuses in the world for why I couldn't succeed. But by the time I was 30, I had been mentored by senior vice presidents at American Express, GE, and Yahoo. And at that time, all of those companies were considered top 50 companies to work for, and all of those companies were part of the Fortune 500. The amazing thing, I had never actually worked for any of those companies, yet I was getting mentorship from people at the highest levels. So how did I make these connections? That's what we're unpacking today. Because I see too many talented professionals like you sabotaging their chances at meaningful relationships. First off, I don't want to assume that you know why mentorship is important. Why are mentors important? The right mentor can dramatically accelerate your professional growth by helping you navigate complex challenges, avoid pitfalls, and probably more importantly, identify opportunities you might otherwise miss. Identify learning opportunities. Not that all opportunities need to be learning opportunities, but opportunities to learn is a part of your growth. I like to think about it this way. If you want to become fluent in Japanese, you have to surround yourself with Japanese speakers. So what specific job title do you want next, even if it's the job title that you currently have? Is it software developer? Is it marketing manager? Is it financial analyst? Is it an executive or vice president of whatever field that you're currently in? Well, maybe you just want to be the highest end of the average salary range in your field. You want to be on the high end of the bracket. And you're telling me you don't know at least 12 people in your field? And you're telling me you don't know any hiring managers in your field? When I look at my own career trajectory, I can trace nearly every significant leap to advice or connections that came through mentorship relationships. Every increase in salary, every career pivot, every moving into a company where I wouldn't have been able to get interviews at otherwise, all of this came from mentors and advisors. Professionals with mentors are promoted a lot more than those without. They tend to have higher job satisfaction. And frankly, in today's competitive job market, having trusted advisors who can provide an insider perspective is invaluable. A mentor can help you understand the unwritten rules of your industry, the unwritten rules of your company, share best practices. They can point out where you're underselling yourself. They can point out where you're not visible enough. They can point out why and how you're not making enough of an impact on the most important things that are going to merit a salary range or that are going to merit a promotion. And often, they can even become your advocate in rooms where decisions about opportunities are made. Do you want to know the most cringeworthy thing I witness at networking events? A young professional walks up to a top executive at a top company they've never met before, and when within 30 seconds blurts out, "Would you be my mentor?" Or they walk into a room of crowded people and they say, "Will anyone be my mentor?" This is like going on a first date where your date proposes marriage before the appetizers have even arrived. As my friend Beth puts it, 0 to marriage in 60 seconds, anyone? Let's talk about the second example first. So in the second example, you might actually have success if you ask 50 people if someone's willing to be your mentor. You might get someone. But what you're not going to know, because you weren't strategic about it, you weren't selective about it, what you're not going to know is whether or not they actually know what they're talking about, whether or not they're actually the right mentor for you. And now you found yourself in a long-term commitment because they agreed to be your mentor simply because you shouted it out. But the more likely scenario is the people at the highest level are going to be turned off because you haven't developed a relationship with them where they're willing to do this huge ask for you, which even if the time commitment is unclear, is more than a one-time commitment when you talk about mentorship with someone. So when you propose, when you say, "Would you like to be my mentor?" 0 to marriage in 60 seconds, anyone? That's exactly what's happening when you immediately ask someone to be your mentor. Hopefully, we made that clear and you're going to eradicate that from your language. It's a massive ask. You're essentially requesting a significant time commitment and a big favor from someone that you might have just met, or someone that you barely know, or someone that already has a lot of other job duties on their plate and they don't necessarily get paid or compensated to mentor you. So let's frame how we think about mentorship. The truth is, meaningful mentorship rarely begins with the question, "Will you be my mentor?" It rarely begins even with a formal mentorship program. I've been a member of formal mentorship programs. I've spoken to vice presidents that oversee mentorship programs, and the feedback I get is they very rarely ever work. Instead, it evolves naturally through relationship building. It evolves naturally and organically through relationship building. So here's what I mean by that. Here's the career tip that will change everything for you. Stop thinking about finding quote unquote mentors and start thinking about finding advisors or advice givers. Start thinking about finding advisors or advice givers. Why does this work? Well, most people genuinely enjoy being asked for their advice. Most people genuinely enjoy being asked for their advice, especially in areas where they have expertise. It's validating, it doesn't involve a long-term commitment, and heck, it makes the potential mentor, the advisor, feel good. And if you can make the potential mentor feel good, they feel good about you. This strategy worked beautifully for job search as well. If you are finding value in today's show or a previous episode, please take a moment to subscribe to Career Success Secrets and write a brief comment or review. These comments, reviews, subscriptions are invaluable in terms of us getting the word out. Your reviews help other professionals like you discover these strategies. Do you have a colleague or a friend who might want faster career progress, who might be unhappy in their job, who might be unhappy with their salary, please think of that colleague or friend now and share the Career Success Secret Show with them. You'll be amazed. Most people are afraid to admit that they need help. And if you offer them to someone, it gives them an opportunity to help themselves. Now, back to the topic of mentorship. How the heck do you find a mentor and a high quality one without ever having to awkwardly pop the mentor question? First, I'm going to have you focus on connecting with people that you have strong commonalities with. Instead of contacting complete strangers and having abysmal success rates, I'm asking you to focus on one or more of the following. People you know already. People who know people you already know. People who are part of an alumni of strong communities that you were a part of. Could be anything from universities to military, home of origin if you live outside the country where you grew up, or nonprofits. And if none of those speak to you, then you need to go out and meet more people or volunteer for a nonprofit. But my guess is, even with just those categories, you probably know a lot more people than you think you do. All right. So now you know you need strong commonalities. So second, you're going to use LinkedIn to research these people, these careers, companies, and potential connections so you can be strategic. I don't want you to spend hours and hours trying to be strategic, but I do want you to be intentional around who looks like on paper that they might be a great advisor or mentor for you. Third, schedule as many advice conversations as possible. These are focused 20 to 60 minute discussions specifically about getting the other person's perspective on a particular challenge or decision, or insight into their industry, insight into their company, insight into their field. Fourth, I want you to ask thoughtful questions that demonstrate that you've done homework. Have a few ideas of what advice you want before the meeting actually starts. You don't have to have all your questions figured out. Your questions might change, but have a list of at least 4 to 5 questions so that you're prepared. Never ask something you could easily Google or find on their company website. Respect their expertise by being prepared and asking questions that you genuinely care about. Please find something to care about. Don't just go through the motions, or this might not work. Ask questions about things that you actually want to learn more about. And if you don't want to learn more about your field or your industry, that's a concern. That is a reason why someone might not want to be your advisor or your mentor or help you make more money. Don't immediately ask for help on applying for a job unless they bring it up and they offer. Fifth, take notes. What went well? What didn't go well? What could you have done better? What did you learn or relearn? If you didn't learn anything from the conversation, that is probably your fault. Not always, but it's frequently your fault. Did you not prepare enough? Did you not ask the right questions? Did you not practice or get your thoughts together or your notes together? Sixth, express genuine gratitude, preferably around a specific piece of advice. Now, ideally, I would like you to do this both throughout and at the end of the conversation, but also when you follow up, and hopefully you're following up, you're expressing gratitude and thanks as well. Seventh, at the end of every meeting, ask them who they know that might be able to give you advice on your field or industry, even if they're not hiring. Who do you know in marketing that might be willing to give me some advice? What vice presidents do you know that might be willing to give me some advice? Oh, that's okay. Even if they're not hiring, I'd just love to meet more great people that can give me some insight on success in the field. Eighth, implement at least one piece of the advice quickly, then circle back and share the results and a short summary of some of the things you've been up to. Even if the results are a lack of results, share that. They might be more willing to help you and provide additional support because you're following up, because you're updating them, because you're letting them know not only what results you're getting or not getting, but you're also letting them know the additional actions that you're taking so that they know you're not relying entirely upon them. Nothing makes potential mentors trust you more than seeing you apply their guidance and following up, actually caring enough to follow up and maintain the relationship. Finally, and this was sort of hidden in the last one, but finally, maintain the relationship by sending them an occasional email update and occasionally asking for additional advice. Now, of course, this is going to depend on how well you hit it off. This is going to depend on how busy they say they are. But if they indicate that they might be open to another conversation, you're going to want to ask them how often would be okay to reach out to you. Every month, every 2 months, every 3 months, being respectful of their time. But the key is consistency in the follow-up, even if you're not asking for more advice and even if you're just sending an update. Here's the beautiful irony. By not labeling someone as your mentor right away, you're much more likely to develop mentoring relationships that last. Ironic. So by not putting the pressure of calling them your mentor, they're going to be a lot more likely to become your mentor and become your mentor faster and be a mentorship relationship that lasts. The best mentors I've had in my career, and I've had formal mentors that were officially my mentor, and I've had mentors that weren't. Although I've had some great formal mentors, the most valuable ones were where we didn't even use the word mentor or mentorship in our conversation. They evolved from casual advice conversations that became ongoing dialogues. Don't make this career mistake either. Don't limit yourself to just one mentor. I typically have 5 different mentors at any given time, each bringing unique perspectives and different aspects to my career or to how I integrate my career into my life. No single person has all the right advice for every situation. Have mentors within your company. Have mentors within your company but outside your team. Have mentors within your company but outside your department. Have mentors at other companies. Have mentors potentially in different fields from you. Now, ideally, I'd like you to master your field first and have mentors within your field first in large amounts. But if you've reached that stage, then maybe you're ready for a mentor or two who helps teach you about a different department or a different field. And remember, regardless of how much guidance you receive, you're still the only one who truly knows for sure what advice is right for you. Just because they're a mentor doesn't mean they're an expert on what works best for you. Another piece of advice that I would recommend is, and this is a tricky one because a lot of people in the career space are trying to be different and they're trying to be unique and they're suggesting that you should have a sponsor or a champion. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it, but a sponsor or a champion is essentially the next level above mentor, and they tend to only be people within your company, or they tend to be people with a lot of connections, and they have the ability and influence and the willingness to step in and advocate for you in your career. And do you want that? Of course you want that. And just like we said with mentor, do you want to go around saying, hey, will you be my sponsor? Or will you be my will you be my champion? Probably not until you have mastered these other things about mentorship and you have a few mentors under your belt. All right. One more. Here's a powerful mindset shift. No matter how successful you become, always look for constant and never-ending improvement. Always look for constant and never-ending improvement. And one of the easiest ways to do that is by connecting with people further along in their journey than you are. The formal mentor label often creates unnecessary pressure that can scare people away, especially before they've had a chance to know you and your potential. As we wrap up today's show, I want to leave you with this. You probably already have mentors and don't realize it. They're the people who give you advice. They're the people you already go to and ask questions of. They're the people that challenge your thinking. They may or may not be the people that celebrate your wins. Your task now is to be more intentional about who those advisors are and find even better advisors in the specific areas that you want to grow or that you need to grow. Start by asking for advice, implement what resonates, express gratitude, and keep the conversation growing. The right mentors will emerge naturally from this process, creating far more meaningful relationships than any forced mentorship arrangements could ever be. Until next time, this is Mike Tomasello with Career Success Secrets, reminding you that the most powerful career moves often start with the simple question, could I get your advice? Thanks for your subscribe, like, comment, or review.